Welcome. I'm truly honored to have you with me in this episode, which I like to describe as a journey. Not a journey filled with extraordinary achievements or loud success stories, but one of simple shifts in thinking. For a long time, we tend to believe that major turning points in our lives must come from big events, sudden moments, or powerful experiences that change everything overnight. But the truth I discovered over time was completely different from what I once thought. These changes weren't loud. They didn't come with noise or announcements. Instead, they arrived quietly, small ideas presented to the mind, gradually reshaping how I see life. Sometimes, a simple, beautiful thought heard at the right moment or a small experience we go through is enough to make us see the world from a completely new perspective. In this episode, I'll share with you a collection of ideas that shifted my mindset 180 degrees for the better. They're not strict rules or ready-made lessons, but human reflections, ones that each of us might find a part of ourselves in. Let's begin. The first idea. Life is not a race. Since childhood, many of us are raised with the idea that life is a competition. School grades, university acceptance, career success, until success itself feels like a finish line we must reach before others. We compare ourselves constantly. Who achieved more? Who arrived faster? But over time, I realized something important. Life is not a single path where everyone moves at the same speed. Each person has different circumstances, different beginnings, different abilities, and even a different definition of success. When I stopped comparing my path to others, a heavy pressure lifted from my chest. I was no longer running just because others were running. Instead, I began asking myself a different question. Am I on the path that truly suits me? The second idea. Failure is not the opposite of success, it's part of it. Many people see failure as the end of the road, as a sign of weakness or lack of talent. But when I started reading about successful individuals, I noticed something they all had in common. They went through many failures. The difference is, they didn't see failure as a wall, but as a stage of learning. At its core, failure is not a judgment of your worth, it's a lesson. It's life's way of telling you there's something you can do better. When I changed my perspective on failure, my relationship with trying changed too. I was no longer afraid of experimenting. I began to see every experience as a chance to understand more, whether I succeeded or not. The third idea. The thoughts we keep shape our reality more than we imagine. The human mind is like a garden. If left unattended, it won't stay empty. Weeds will grow. Negativity and doubt take root easily if we're not careful about what we allow to stay inside us. When I started intentionally planting different thoughts, like gratitude, curiosity, and a desire to learn, I noticed that my view of life began to change. The events didn't necessarily change, but my interpretation of them did. And sometimes, the difference between a bad day and a good one lies not in what happens, but in how we choose to see it. The fourth idea. Time is the most valuable thing we have. Everything else can be replaced. Opportunities may return. Even some mistakes can be corrected. But time, once gone, never comes back. Realizing this made me rethink how I spend my days. How much time do we waste on things that add nothing meaningful to our lives? When I became more aware of the value of time, I started asking myself a simple question before committing to anything. Is this really worth a part of my life? The fifth idea. Most people are not thinking about us as much as we imagine. This realization brought a deep sense of freedom. Often, we hesitate out of fear of judgment. We worry about how others see us. We fear making mistakes in front of them or not appearing perfect. But the truth is, everyone is mostly busy with their own lives, their problems, their dreams, their goals. The space we occupy in others' minds is much smaller than we think. Once I understood this, I became more courageous in trying new things, not out of rebellion, but simply because life is too short to be limited by others' opinions. The sixth idea. Simplicity is strength, not weakness. In a world that often celebrates complexity and exaggeration, we tend to think that everything must be complicated to be valuable. But in reality, the simplest things are often the most powerful: healthy relationships, consistent small actions, clear intentions. I learned that simplicity isn't superficial, it's clarity. The seventh idea: learning never stops at a certain age. In school and university, it may seem like learning has an expiration date that ends with a certificate. But in truth, intellectual curiosity is one of the most important forces that keep us alive and growing. Every book we read, every new idea we discover, every meaningful conversation we have opens new windows to understand the world. Sometimes, a single idea from a book can completely change your path. The eighth idea: real change takes time. In a fast-paced world, we expect everything to happen instantly. But most meaningful growth happens slowly. Confidence builds over time, skills develop through practice, and personal transformation comes from small, repeated actions every day. We may not notice the change in a day or a week, but after years, we realize we've become completely different people. This leads to another important truth: no one stays the same forever. Every experience leaves a mark on us. Every idea, every deep conversation can shift how we see things. Change is natural, even if it's subtle. And the most beautiful part is that we always have the ability to reshape ourselves. No matter how difficult or imperfect the past was, there's always a chance to begin a new chapter. In the end, life is not a problem to solve, nor a race to win. It's a journey of understanding ourselves, others, and the world around us. Sometimes, a single honest thought is enough to change everything. Thank you for spending this time with me. I hope some of these ideas gave you a new perspective, or at least a moment of reflection. Until we meet in the next episode, goodbye.